Hopefully we're back up. Hello? I did as much as I could to try to make the stream run a little bit better. I'm sorry if it keeps cutting out. There's only so much I can do. But they're doing construction next door, which was really shitty. They did it without any warning at all. And the workers have just been tossing everything around everywhere, knocking everything around, breaking shit, and there was a whole electric truck that came by a few days back. I'm wondering if they knocked out cables or fucked things up outside, so that's why our internet is so shitty now. Because a while back they had to send a truck out to fix everything on the block because it got fucked up so bad. I don't think the chat's working. I'm not getting any messages from the chat anymore. Yeah, the chat is not even loading for me. That's bad. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do the best I can with this stream right now, but it's getting really bad. This is becoming almost unbearable. How bad our connection is right now, and I'm getting really sick of it too, because it's like, okay, we're in California. Shouldn't that be a priority here? Shouldn't that be something they try hard for? Like, oh yeah, hey, it's fancy pants California. The internet should be working great here. Or is it seriously just like, oh, well, they're fucked. They have to choose us, so may as well not try. Like, is that it? Anyways, let's try to just stay focused on this. Seems to be running better now, at least. Hopefully it stays that way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't give a fuck about how bad the connection's been. They don't need to. People are stuck with them. We're stuck with them. We don't have choices for providers. This is as good as it's gonna get. Which is really disappointing. Do a little bit of that. Probably pull the backside of the shoe down a little bit. Give it more of a shape to it. It looks really weird on a couple frames because I have to clean it up a lot. Is this one of those frames that's gonna look weird? I think this is one of the frames that's gonna look kind of strange. Should pull this out a bit more so it doesn't look as odd. So let's fix that up. It's amazing how a country like Poland has stable, fast, cheap internet and the US is still 10 years behind. It's because, I mean, things over here are really fucked in regards to that. Other parts of the world have significantly faster speeds than we do because companies here can just limit it and not have to try, not have to spend money, and just fuck people over because they have no choice. It's worse in other countries, though. Australia is a great example. No matter where you are in Australia, from what I've been hearing, it's just shit. Is that punch just 2 frames till impact? The punch animation in this game has exactly 1 frame of startup on it, and then it's out, because a big part of Bippy is reacting to things quickly. So if you miss a punch, it hangs out for a little while and before you can actually punch again. But it's not something like a fighting game or like Dark Souls where you're gonna have to wait for the right point of contact. You get to respond quickly and immediately. I lowered the frame rate on the stream, by the way, so I'm sure the preview is not going to look right. You know what? It's not going to look right because the animations are running at 60. I would have to slow it down for it to look right on the stream. I guess I could fix that when the internet gets a little bit better. But the yeah, the attack in Bippy is very, very quick. Since the way that it works in Bippy is it's if you attack and you don't hit anything, you're going to be waiting about, is it 13, 14 frames before you're allowed to attack again, and you're vulnerable for most of that. If you manage to land an attack, you can do whatever you want off of the attack. So if you make contact with an enemy or something, you can just run away from them after hitting them. You can just hit them again. You have a lot of choices there, so it's complicated. It's not as straightforward as you've probably seen. It's not just the attack playing out. There's a lot of things like that with the animations being cancelled out. Also, if you're a fan of how Zero works in Mega Man X4, if you like dashing to cancel your attack animation over and over again, you'll be very happy because you get to do that in this. If you just want to keep canceling into the first attack and Bippy's little combo, you can do it. And I see that my playlist just stopped. Is my internet dead? Is my internet dead? Is that it? Hello? I believe so. I think my internet's dead, everybody, so... Great. No, there it is. The site can't be reached. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. I guess my upload rate is still going, but my download rate is gone. I can't load my playlist anymore. What the fuck is going on? What is this shit? Oh my god. Well, that's cool. That's very neat. Is every other website dead for me, or is it just YouTube? Well, what the fuck is going on? This site can't be reached. It's just not even trying. I can't connect to YouTube anymore. You serious? Can I load other websites? Yeah, download rate is dead. I can't go to any website right now. I'm sorry, everybody. You're gonna have to sit through some silence now. I don't have music because of my internet. Well, that stinks. Oh, I need to fix this. This doesn't look right at all. Nothing like paying a lot of money for their fastest internet package just to not have internet. Not to mention a shit upload rate, because they always do that. Every single package that Spectrum offers, you get a really bad upload rate. Because back in Chicago, I had, what was it? Was I at 50? 80? I had a really, really fast upload rate. Spectrum caps you at 2 megabits per second. That's it. Like that. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Yes, I'm locked at 2. Even with the fastest plan, it doesn't increase your upload rate. Every upload rate of theirs is locked at 2. You can't do shit. And it's fucked up because it's California. You would think, like, okay, they're gonna offer good internet because you're in California, but no, they don't. Because they don't have to. People are stuck with them. This a little bit weird. I hope my internet sorts itself out so I can put music back on. I don't want a silent stream. What's the internet at the Grump office like? It's just as bad. If someone starts an upload at the office, no one can do anything until that upload finishes. I remember when we were trying to download Yooka-Laylee on the PlayStation 4, it said it was going to take us 5 days to download the game. The internet out here just fucking sucks. So I'll reiterate again, as much as everyone makes California out to be this great place, nothing really functions out here. It's not so great. Oh, I didn't know that's what color I had selected. There's Julian. I probably woke him up by accident. You okay? Say hi. He said hi. Well, I'm very jealous of your connection in Brazil, if it's that fast. I would kill for that right now. My internet was fantastic when I was in Chicago. I miss it. I don't even want to play games online ever out here because of how unstable connections are. I should probably pull this over to the side more. The shoes seem to bring the most inconsistencies with animation that need to get sorted out. That doesn't look good. Do that. Probably doesn't look good either. Let me see if I have a download rate again so I can actually listen to music while doing this. There we go. Thank God. Jesus. It's terrible. It's really, really upsetting. Sometimes the scroll wheel breaks when I'm doing this too, which is annoying. I found out why my laptop fan was turning on so much too. It's because of the performance mode I put it on. So I'm on power saver now for the sake of the fan not coming on while streaming. The issue with that is that it runs kind of slow because I put it on that. It's a little bit funky. Yeah, that looks funky. I need to smoothen this out more. Either by doing a little bit of that. It's getting there. I need to clean up some frames, but it's getting closer to what I had in mind. I think that's way too big. The shoes are going to be the most inconsistent part because Julian draws them a certain way that I need to clean up and smoothen a little bit. He uses very rough shapes for it, just for the sake of animating it easier. When that gets buffed out when we're actually animating. Yeah, see, every time I click a new frame I can't zoom in and out. I click on something first. So what frame is that screwing up on? I guess these last frames it's probably looking the worst on. That doesn't look so good. Probably have to pull this up a little bit so it doesn't look as... Oh, it was the wrong color. We can just do that. Would you believe this is music from a golf game? That looks really funky on that frame. Nice thing about some of these frames is I can recycle what I already drew. Is Chris doing music for either of your games? No. I mean, Bippy, it's too early to know what we're gonna do about music. Trigger or Treat, we already have a soundtrack though. Have you tried out Julian's Class I? He doesn't have one. Wait, did it happen? It happened again! It fucking happened again! No! Is this a bug that's happening while I'm streaming? I think it is. I lost the frame. Okay, are you all seeing this? Look. 1, 2. It repeated the frame. It wiped the frame I already had there. What is going on? I need to copy this now. Why the fuck did that happen? That's really bad that that happened. Okay, I need to copy these few frames. That's really serious that that just happened. I don't know why that happened either. Yes, cancel. I thought that was a mistake I made. That might just be something that's happening while I'm streaming now. See? This frame was already cleaned, and it was about to delete it from existence. There we go. Well, that was a good save. That would have been bad. Yes, that happened before, and I don't know why it happened before. I'm glad I managed to just save it there. That would have been really, really bad if I just lost what I was doing. I'm just going to be closing it over and over and over again now, just to make sure it saves everything I'm doing. That's really scary that it did that. I don't know why it did that. Maybe it is because I'm on power saver mode. I mean, it's running slower than it should be. Well, that means all the stuff I did with the shoe isn't there anymore either. So I'm gonna have to fix all that. Sorry if I sound really out of it. I'm just mad that our internet got fucked with just for so long. They were saying they were going to send somebody out too, and then it's like, oh, well, the internet just went back up. Guess what? Haha, it wasn't a fucking problem. It's just shit on your guys' end. Always is. There's a reason why it says there's an issue with the DNS. It's not us. Not to mention their customer service is really terrible. I remember we had last year 4 people come out back to back to back, and when we talked to them on the phone about saying like, hey, we've had 3 people come out now and nothing's been fixed, they said over the phone like, oh yeah, well, I mean, they're not actually obligated to do anything when they come out. You're gonna have to put pressure on them to do things. It's like, what the fuck is that? What is that? They're not obligated to do anything. We have to stand there and hold their hand and shout at them to get them to do anything. Because I always was hearing people shit talk Comcast and how bad they were. And yeah, Comcast is bad, but this has been worse. This is the worst time I've ever had with an internet service provider. Comcast was shitty and frustrating to deal with, but I remember they would give me refunds when they fucked up, at least. If I shouted at them, they would do that. There was that. I remember they were paranoid that even though I wasn't torrenting, they thought I was, because I was playing games a lot. So they're saying like, oh, we need to install our tracker software on your computer to make sure everything's okay. And I told them, you're not legally bound to do that. You can't do that. Like, that's not something I'm going to agree to. I'm not going to let you come in and get on my computer and install something. You can't do that. And they ended up backing off when I said that, and they never brought it up again. They never made that kind of threat like, oh, we're going to have to put tracker software on you. They attempted to do it, I told them no, and they didn't ever bother with it again. And shitty as it was that they're going to do it, I never had issues with that again. And then when people that I had over were torrenting, we never got in trouble for it, so hahaha, funny. Also, torrenting isn't illegal anyways. There's nothing illegal about torrenting. It's if you're torrenting things that are illegal, if you're illegally downloading movies and everything. A torrent is just a method of downloading files because it's being broken into pieces. It gets a lot more use out of your internet connection, but it's a lot more efficient than just straight sending a file. How did you learn to code? People ask that a lot. You just you sit down and do it. That's all there is to it. You read up on it, you pull up wikis, you just teach yourself. It's just something you have to sort of do. There's no easy shortcut to it. No, I didn't go to code school. It was just completely self-taught. I don't like the phrase self-taught either, but that was how I picked up on it. It was just I was trying to get into it since I was very young. So over time I got familiar with things. Would you ever code on stream? Absolutely not. Because by coding on stream, people get to see your source code, and I'm not going to do that. That was, what should I draw next Tuesday? I remember what you drew the previous Tuesday. I can only imagine what you're going to draw next Tuesday. You did the big V word. I'm sure you're going to do the big TV in the next one. Are you streaming every day now? I'm gonna be streaming a lot more often. Especially because people were nice enough to donate enough that we could get a recording setup going. I'm gonna be trying to stream a lot more often, especially on this kind of thing. I think we are going to end up having to delay Trick or Treat by a year because we lost so much time. Since we were hoping to start in... When were we hoping? Like January we wanted to start. We wanted to start the very beginning of the year. And there was just no free time. There was no time to do anything for it. So finally when we had the opportunity to begin work on it, it's like, okay, well, we lost so much time though. I don't know if we can get this done within the year. The horrid V word. You know exactly what you did. Do it. Meme it up. I dare you. Take it to the next level. Go all in on that V word. Will you release Trick or Treat on Steam? Yeah, that's where we're planning to release it. I've told the story a few times because people are like, oh, I'm so excited, and I keep saying, like, just please don't be. It's not gonna be like a big thing. It wasn't meant to be a big thing. It's why we were fine not saying a word about it until we finally ended up doing a Patreon. It was just gonna kind of exist as its own thing. It's meant to be kind of a small little arcade shooter. It wasn't meant to be anything bigger than that. And the reason we put it on the Patreon, because it's almost done. We may as well show it, as opposed to showing Bippy where we have nothing for it yet. It's a game that's almost done, but it's very rough around the edges. It was being made in only a month, because originally it was for a company that I had worked for, and they wanted to have the rights to it, and they wanted to publish it, and they only gave us like a month and a half to make it, which is ridiculous, by the way. But what happened was I ended up quitting the company just a little bit after that, as it is. They didn't want the game either, which is funny. They were putting a rush on it, and then afterwards they were like, oh, you know, actually we don't think this is going to be profitable, even though they had nothing else coming out at the time. So it's like, okay, well, that's fine then. You guys don't get it then. We'll do it on our own. So, you think it's worth it to up the resolution? Absolutely. The game was running at such a tight, like, screen size, we couldn't do anything with level design. Action had to be really cramped. We couldn't have too many enemies on screen. But, that's the biggest issue with it, is that it's trying to salvage a game that was programmed in literally a month. We're putting all these band-aids on it hoping to make it better, but I don't see myself pulling it off. I don't see myself doing a good job with it. It's such a simple game, but it's being based off source code that was rushed. I don't see it turning out the way I would like it to. Bippy, at least, we're going all in on it, and I'm trying my hardest to make this as smooth as I can as a game, and really focusing on getting a good engine for it. It's, we're doing a lot. I was mentioning it yesterday, but we're doing a lot of little tricks and everything, so the game can not only look really crisp and smooth, but it can also play very smooth on top of having a lot of animation. I didn't actually think about this. Okay, so these are elevated by a couple pixels, and right here they're not, so I gotta elevate them. Okay, no. Oh, fuck. There we go. This is Nuclear Throne. Yes, Nuclear Throne runs at that resolution, and then on top of that, Nuclear Throne only runs at 30 frames per second for whatever reason. No, I didn't get timestamps for any time we mentioned Kurias. How long has Trick or Treat existed publicly? Because I swear I heard about it. Yeah, it was way back. It was on Greenlight, and that was right after I ended up quitting the company. And it was a 3-person thing at that point, but the third person hopped off of it, so it became a 2-person project with me and Julian. But it was very on and off how work was going for it. As soon as I came out to California, before we were recording for Oni Plays, it was non-stop work being applied to it, and now it's now this year we were going to be putting straight work on it to finally finish it. And Nuclear Throne is GameMaker by default. GameMaker. I know that, but at the same time, GameMaker, you can easily up it to 60. They just didn't. They decided not to do that, and it's also coded based on ticks as opposed to using delta time in GameMaker. Delta time means that if the game's slowed down, it'd still run exactly the same, but they opted against doing that for some reason. Means they could have had the game running even better than 60 frames per second, so if you had a proper monitor, you could see it running faster. Delta time is usually how you're going to want to program a game. If it's single player, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but it's good if you're ever going to do anything that's related to netcode. And it's good if you want a game that can actually run on monitors that can go above 60 Hz. Also, here's Ken's theme, because it's the same composer. I'm using Multimedia Fusion just for sprite editing. I'm not actually making the game in it. It'd be a mistake to make a game in it. It's not very good software. I'm hearing a lot of terrible things though about Game Maker Studio too. Apparently it fucked up a lot of people's work because they redid things in a way that makes no sense. So depth, which is what determines what sprites appear in front of what. So like how they're ordered on screen, they fucked that up so hard that a lot of games are just, they need to go through and recode everything because it got in the way. Which sounds great. That's cool that they made an update like that that just fucked everything over. GameMaker doesn't run Delta Time by default. I know it doesn't. You have to do that on your own, but you can do it. That's the point. Nuclear Throne was in development for a long time, but they could... The point that they started work on it, they could have upped it to 60. It supported 60 for a very long time. And then on top of that, Delta Time, I'm pretty sure was a function that you could take advantage of for a good long while. Oh, that looks weird. God damn it. Oh, watch it delete a frame. Is that gonna happen? I bet it will. I bet it's gonna suddenly delete a frame. I hope it doesn't do that. I'll get really mad if it just deletes a frame again. This means I have to redo everything. If it does that again, I'm turning on high performance mode, because that's probably why it fucked up like that. Okay. Looks a little flat right here. I'll fix that by doing that. Poke that out a little bit. Fix that a little bit. Pull this over because it's supposed to look like his shoe's moving. Meaning I can also pull this over a little bit. Okay, it's getting close to what I wanted. Still a lot of frames at the end I need to clean up because they look bad. It's getting there. Have you heard the Mario Kart 8 version? I have. I like it. I still say this is my favorite version of it. The shoes feel a bit wonky, because I just said I'm not done with them. The last few frames aren't even clean. Like that. This should be it should be obvious I haven't finished these yet. That's why it looks wonky like that. I was just looking at the first few frames. then we gotta do... That's gonna be something I have to focus on too. His hands, like his gloves are not just supposed to be perfect balls all the time. We're just not getting to that yet. That's gonna be during the second pass of sprite cleanup that we're gonna work in fingers on the gloves and shaping the back a bit more. Who came up with the design? I'm doing most of the designs for Bippy, and Trick or Treat, most of it is Julian. I think the only things I designed in Trick or Treat were the majority of the main characters, and that was it. Also, I'm missing all these donations. I'm sorry, let me read them. Why aren't they showing up on the side? What the fuck? Oh no. Is it because my connection to this service died, so I'm not getting to see who's donating? What's the donation counter at? Yeah, it's at 20 bucks. I can't see who donated. This thing isn't updating. Oh boy. Well, give me a second, everybody. I'll fix that. See if this does it. There we go. Okay, now I can read the donations. Sorry about that. Thank you, Moose Guts, for $4 and 20 cents. Thank you, Moose Guts. Stevenator PC donated €5. Whoa, I didn't know you could do that. Said, hey, cheers for everything you do. And Guy donated $10 and said, have a good stress-free day. Consider talking to Chris about playing Digimon World 1. I'll send you guys a copy if you don't have one. We actually have like 3 copies of it. A lot of people sent it in, so we're gonna play it. Julian and I played it a little bit on our own. We're trying to figure it out more so when we start playing it, we'll know what we're doing. I said it before though, I'm disappointed I can't get any of my favorites in it. Of course, all the bad guy monsters you can't actually get. Go figure. But I also can't tell people like the P.O. box or anything at this point because I think they're throwing our mail out, because I know for a fact someone sent us some really nice stuff and we have not seen it. They've gone to the P.O. box repeatedly and nothing for us each time. This is where we bring up the frog, right? Well, apparently it is, because you're doing it. Wait until Tuesday! Isn't Digimon World really expensive? Yes, it is. It's a very, very expensive game, and I'm glad that at least that didn't get thrown out when we got it in the mail. We have 3 copies of it, and we're gonna show it in the playthrough, but someone actually drew a custom like cover art for it when they mailed it to us, so we'll show that when we play it. But yeah, a lot of people sent it in, and it was very nice of people to do that, because it's not a common game. It's common. A lot of people had it, but it goes for a lot of money. I kind of wonder why it does. Is the post office dumping it? It's not the post office, I don't think. That's what's confusing to me, is that... Is Tuesday actually a thing? I figured it was a one-off joke. No, we're gonna give it one more spin, because last time it was a spur of the moment thing, so we'll see what kind of horrors come from giving people time to actually do it. I don't think it's the post office because it's all labeled properly when we get it sent to us. I've seen photos of people who sent stuff, and it's just sent directly to the P.O. box, and it just says Oni Plays on it, on top of the proper address and everything. So for whatever reason, if it's labeled Super Mega or anything else, it's fine. But if it's labeled Oni Plays, it didn't end up there. So We're gonna figure out. And yes, that's something really shitty that happened with Wild Woody. Wild Woody is not an uncommon game, but I think people started upping the price of it because we played it, which was really shitty of them because we don't have a physical copy of it. And if we're gonna revisit it, I want to play it physically because emulating it didn't work well. Blackie donated $5 and said, "Ding dong, what program do you use for pixel art?" This here is Fusion 2.5, which is not sprite software, it's game development software, but I'm not making the game in this. I'm just using it because it's easy to export GIFs. Typically I just use Paint. I don't even use like any kind of software. A lot of people like to attribute software to how to do pixel art. Like, oh, if you're going to be a pixel artist, you have to use this program or something. People really like to find shortcuts with art, but there's no shortcut here. If you're going to do pixel art, you have tools already. You have Paint. You can do it in anything. It's not the software that's going to make it look good. It's up to you. That from Snow Bros like a year ago. Did that go up in price? I like Snow Bros. That's too bad. There's actually like a what was it called? I was happy to see that the arcade we went to had it. I forget what it's not like Creatures of the Night or something. I forget what it's called. Is it Nightmare? I don't remember what it's called. I'm not gonna guess the name, but it's a Neo Geo game, and it's basically Snow Bros, but with you play as little goblin guys, and it's Halloween themed. It's a lot of fun. It's a really fun game. Nightmare in the Dark. That's it. Thank you. That game is really, really fun. My only issue with it is when you don't have power-ups, it's kind of miserable to play it because it takes so long to make a fireball. But when you have power-ups, it's fucking great. It's really, really fun. It's a really, really fun game. I was glad we got to play it too. Julia never saw it before. How many hours and days do you work? On what? On game stuff, it's almost 24/7 if we're not at the office. Unless I'm streaming or something, but even then, I'm trying to do a lot of work streams. Recently built a home arcade machine with Neo Geo. Well, you got to live my dream. That's what I was trying to do in high school, I remember. I got a board ready and everything. I wired up a joystick. I just needed to figure out just dimensions so I could make the cabinet itself, and I never finished. Namely because I remember we had a flood and it ruined a lot of what I had for it, so it just wasn't going to happen. I don't want to be stupid with money and try something like that again, though. I would love to have a Neo Geo. Because I got to see that when I went to Family Fun Arcade. They have a Neo Geo machine there with a multi-cart in it, so just every Neo Geo game is there to play on actual legitimate hardware, which is fantastic. It was really cool doing that. I'd love to have something like that, but I don't want to blow money stupidly on shit like that. I'd rather focus it on projects. That kind of thing can wait. Would the player be able to choose the color from a palette Bippy in game? I'm trying to think about that because Bippy was designed with that in mind, like there could be different color versions of him. Because originally I wasn't sure if he's going to have different abilities or how it was going to work. I've kind of decided it's going to be like Zero and X4, that you just get new moves added onto a move list that you can do. But he is broken up in game with a color palette I wrote a shader for it, so he does have a color palette in game, and what that's going to allow for is he can have different color schemes depending on background. So like if it's nighttime, he has a dedicated color palette for that. His white turns more of a little bit of a green, like a palish green, during nighttime areas, stuff like that. He has different color schemes depending on what the environment is. Not to mention you have a similar effect to like parrying in Street Fighter 3, so if you punch something right as it makes contact with you, he lights up like a light blue for a single frame. So he's broken up like that in game. He has an actual color palette to let stuff like that happen. We have a trail effect working like fighting games too. The lazy way of doing a trail effect, like after images, is that you just have it render the sprite of what he was doing on that frame, like what animation and what frame of that animation. You just render that behind him, and then that's it. After like a couple frames, it deletes itself. That's the cheap way of doing it. But we're doing it more like how fighting games do it, where it's dedicated. There's a couple of sprites, and there's a timeline. So if you dash in Bippy, like 15 frames, I think it is. What is it? I think it's there's 4 after images of Bippy, and one. Basically, there's sprites that are repeating what you just did. So if I tapped right on the keyboard, 10 frames later, the first after image would then start walking to the right. Then the next one, after another 10 frames, would start walking to the right. So then 30 frames passes, next after image walks to the right. Like that. It's playing back a replay of what you just did, but it's a delayed replay, so the after images are slowly repeating everything you just did. And by doing that, it actually like looks really cool by pulling it in like that. You get a much better looking effect, and it means if you're gonna like zigzag in the air, the after images follow along with a delayed response, and it just feels a lot better than doing the lazy method of having a trail effect. So we have that in there now. Will there be lighting effects that change parts of the sprite? No. Nor are we going to do... That's my least favorite thing, is I hate fake 2D lighting. I really hate how that looks, because what people do is they just muddy up the graphics and then have... Essentially, how people do lighting, I'd put a bunch of quotes around that. They just have like a radial gradient, so it's like a sphere gradient effect, and they just have that be applied to what's on screen already and kind of mask it. So it's just gradients overlapping objects and tinting them different colors, and it never looks good. It always looks pretty lousy. It just makes it harder to see what you're doing in game too. I get like it's supposed to be fancier and it's like, oh, well, it's kind of like lighting, but I've never liked how that looked. I don't think I've seen too many examples of that working very well. It's why Bippy's broken up with a color palette, because if we're gonna do anything like that, he has dedicated color schemes to it. It's not just us darkening his sprite or anything. He has a unique color palette for being outside, like during nighttime, or he has a dedicated palette if it's like a lava setting or something. He has a color palette for that. He has a bunch of different color palettes depending on what kind of environment he could be placed into. Not to mention effects like how King of Fighters does it, for example. When someone's set on fire, it rolls through fire gradient on their colors. I don't know how to really describe that one. I guess look up a GIF of somebody in King of Fighters getting set on fire, but it it offsets the color palette, so it just kind of rolls through all of their colors of them being set on fire. Stuff like that we can do too. So Bippy gets set on fire, we'll have that paired up with little particle effects of like flame coming off of him and everything. We have a lot planned for stuff like that. Does Bippy eventually get Parkinson's from repetitive brain injuries due to boxing? I'm so sorry, he doesn't. Who donated? Oh, Isabel Malham. You keep donating every stream. You don't have to do that. Donated $5 and just typed a little smiley face. Will Gossip Gaggle from Shenmue be the final boss? I really want to go back to Shenmue. I love it. People thought I hated it too. I don't know why people assume that. You can make jokes about games you like. That I love Shenmue. And it's probably the kind of game a lot of people will be surprised by that, because it's like, well, it's just lots of walking and talking and everything, but I really like it. I like the atmosphere of it. I like the small little town and everything. Just watching people kind of walk around, living their life. Just how weird everybody in it is because of the translation and the voice acting. Rio's just a really entertaining character thanks to that. It's a fun game. I always have a good time playing it. It's really comfortable. I'd like to go back to it, but if we're gonna go back, we're gonna probably use a guide, because I have not played it since I was younger. I don't remember anything about it. And on top of that, it's such a long game. If you know where everything is, it's still probably going to take you like 20 hours to finish it. Just closing that to save it. I could probably pull this back a little bit. Would that look weird if I did? It does look weird because the shoe is taller than that. It is on this frame. So I goof that up. Let's fix that. Oh my god. Lems VGA donated $10 and said, "Can't stay for long, but thanks for the streams." Thank you, Lems VGA. Lems VGA. Marriage on the punching arm. Keep in mind when you're watching the playback, by the way, you're not seeing it at the proper frame rate on stream right now. I'd have to up the stream frame rate to... You know what, I should just do that now. Let me do it. Because it's running much faster than it's probably looking on stream. Oh, can I not do that while it's going? Hang on. One sec.